I got trouble with my presentation a bit, but I guess it'll be good. So, my name is Vyacheslav Stupak. I'm a designer at Zanzara. We are from Ukraine, from Lviv. We are quite young and I hope promising global agency. So I guess it's the first performance at DrupalCamp. So my presentation will be a bit shorter than guys had. So you're gonna have a chance to take an extra cup of coffee. Okay. So designer's checklist. We in Zanzara we made and keep making different projects, beginning with from small personal sites and to complex solutions that requires custom modules, many different instruments, including the good design eventually. So yes, and the understanding of the design, personally my understanding is based on experience, my personal thoughts and feelings of the product you made. So it's very subjectively, actually, but I guess maybe someone use those simple rules, and some may take something new from it. Okay, so this kind of a list of what I personally pay attention to. I'm gonna go it from. Okay. So the backbone. I mean, when you start to develop and the site design, it's nice that you dig into structure, into the backbone, not only UI but also like framework or the content you have to use. So it's a common mistake in designer's environment when you start to develop your design from nice pictures that the client will love. So you have to understand the structure, the content types, the taxonomy you will have to use, and etc. etc. So yes, this is the first one, and starting from small things now. So when dealing with Drupal, the basic elements it has, it's usually not so good in a graphic way. Yes, you usually can't use it for nice and slick designs. So you have to not forget about login and registration forms. So you won't do it like this. It's actually one of my projects that I made as a designer and a site builder. So you can see how it looks and what I just forget to create, basically to create a nice style for this registration form for admin. It's not the user registration form, it's the internal one. But again, you have to remember to disable styles for this one, or just delete and use the basic theme. So next, these elements like button, tabs, tables, and others, they also have to be designed because when they are, when you have something like UIKit, yeah, it's a simple one. You can pass the UIKit to developer, and there will be not design intervention in the case when you have to add some basic pages to the product. Yeah, the developer can just make up from these existing forms and tables and icons. He can add this simple page without a problem. Yeah, another one is site notifications with error or with some actions. Yeah, you have to you have to remember about it. Yeah, Pasalto module is a very important thing. It's not even the UX or UI thing, it's more than that. But when you, especially when you have different languages on the site, it's useful to have this model and to adjust the right options for it, because you can have the uncomprehensive text translate from Arabic, and there is just gibberish information for user and for Google searches. Yeah, 404 error page, maintenance page. I think there's a very important one for the designer at first, because for user and for the client these are not so important, but for the designer he can achieve some kind of he can get some kind of idea that doesn't fit in the project description, yes, but on these pages we usually have very interesting examples on the web for these pages, and I think for the creator it can cause very much interest to the project when it's not so interesting. Yeah, he can make this impact for like self-interesting. Note page. I guess you are familiar with it because on the site name /note you can get an strange page which is and once upon a time was a home page when the site was created, but when you didn't disable this kind of path, yeah, you can have not only UX issues, but issues related to privacy, because on the VML side, the agency branding, I guess this and agency famous branding. So on this path, you can have you can see actually internal agenda for the guests or for the attendees. It's kind of frustrating, I guess, for them. Other things that vector, you want to use vector instead of raster, instead of JPG and PNG, because in an era of Retina and 4K resolutions, it's the thing. So these three items, I guess it related to designers in the world and some kind of psychological issues, because usually designers are like painters, and they just draw the images and think that front-end is their enemy, but front-end is their and our friend, not mine actually. But you have to remember, you have to be able to like investigate this field in different ways. Communication with clients. Under this, I mean the ability to manage yourself, and not only working with your manager, but you're gonna have to be able to communicate with client straight, because it pumps up your skills very much, and you can have the solve for your problem way quicker. And also reasonable pauses and reasonable and healthy distractions. Under this, I mean not the lunch pause and the distraction from one new message from Messenger or WhatsApp. I mean the pauses when you have some kind of so-called crisis, because when your idea is lost, or you can find it, or you can have it, you have to shut down your PC and go for a walk. When you have a chance to see or observe something new, something you have interest in, you can create, you can have an idea to do your work better. So go for work, go to another town, go to another place in your city you've never been to, and it will help. Yeah, so there is the list, yes. And I like this book from Danny Norden called Drupal for Designers. Actually, I like this text. I don't remember whether I am edited it, but but in general it says very like I think useful things, because indeed UX must balance the needs of the person visiting the site with the business objectives of the client. So it means that like you see in the last sentence, even if you don't like the compromises, the UI like decision you made, but if it makes the user job easier, it eventually can make your clients rich, and he achieved his goals. So I guess that's the main point of it, of the right and good design. This is for like conclusion. I browsed a bit on internet and I found these nice examples of nice Drupal sites. Not only Entertainment Weekly, I guess everybody knows about it, but Tesla, Emmy Television Academy, and many artists actually have the site on Drupal, and the weekend site is my personally favorite. So thanks, and if you have any questions.
Hi, I got so many questions at the moment. Okay. The first thing is, what about choosing a colors for your project? So there are colors that matching each other, that some doesn't match each other colors. If you're designing a website, you can use tools. There is one from Adobe. As far as I know, there is one tool from Adobe, and where you can choose the color, and it will automatically choose the other colors that will match this color you select as the main color of your website. That's the first thing. The second thing is about the fonts. What about choosing fonts? How many of these fonts should be used in a project if you are a designer? And one more question is, or maybe I will ask later after you.
Okay, because I forgot the first one.
I have many questions.
Okay, that's why my presentation is so short. Yeah. The first about the colors. Yeah. I guess it's very. It depends. It depends because it depends on the taste of designer. It depends on the taste of client, of what he wants. Actually, if you have reasonable explanation about that the fonts are right, yeah. If you can explain this to your customer, to your client, you can use any color you want. It's just you have to explain and like show that you know what you say. But it depends on many things. But I guess this palette of colors, everybody knows that the red matches green and so on and so on. About the fonts, I prefer the less fonts the better, I guess, because I don't know. It's not so. Again, it's not so important how many fonts you are using. It's important how they are look when they gather general appearance. Yeah.
No, personally, I would like to kill the designer if he would put, for example, 6 different fonts in one project.
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying. When you have 6 or 7 fonts on the project, it's some
performance issues mostly. And the last question, do you use programs like Pencil, for example, for more complex websites? For designing?
Personally, I'm using Figma now, if you know it. Figma and Photoshop for graphic work, but for the prototype and for the mockups, I'm using Figma. I used to use Photoshop like we all have. But now I'm switched to the Figma. It's very, it helps to not only, it's convenient also to developers because they have the straight access for your project. You can see what they do on your project. It's a collaborative tool. You should use it if you never.
Dziękuję.
Dziękuję wam.
Okay, next question.
Okay. I basically remember this from my freelance days. So you mentioned that you are building also like a small website for the customers, and at the end, you mentioned that basically a good UX is user journey easier, and at the same time helps the customer achieve the business goals. So how do you deal with this type of customers who actually ask you, yes, this website is super cool, I want mine to look like this one, and I don't like this design, I would like to use these colors, and this type of things.
Yeah. Every client, you're gonna have different approaches to different clients, because it's hard to explain. But I guess the first rule, you don't have to be afraid to talk about what you think will be good and what you think will be not good, because eventually every client wants their site to work, to serve what. My point is that you have to talk. You have to talk about your thoughts about it, and sometimes the client keep saying that I want this, do this, maybe do this, and do your variant of the markup, and you'll see what he chooses eventually.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.